From values to value in a story of value. From my precious as anti-value to the story of value in the fellowship of the ring. I am Kristina Tahel. Here I recapitulate pivotal sections of first principles in direct quotes from Dr. Marc Gafni or Barbara Marx Hubbard, woven together from the prior week's One Mountain, Many Paths broadcast. We understand that the new story of value is the most effective and important response to the meta crisis, to the global structures that are breaking down. To respond to these existential risks, we identify the root cause, a global intimacy disorder, which is rooted in our incapacity to articulate a shared story of value. It's not about values, it's about value, about being in the field of value, where things matter, where there's a shared musical score underneath, a shared ground of value itself. We all live inside of stories. Story is the very structure of reality itself. That story has got to be a story of value. But what does that mean? We need a story of value. Last week, we looked at the example by J.R.R. Tolkien, who wrote the Lord of the Rings trilogy. At the time, Tolkien was living in a world in which value was being deconstructed, living in the middle of existentialism, the precursor to postmodernism. There was the sense that there were no real stories that matter because value itself didn't matter. And Tolkien speaks into that cultural space for the intrinsic nature of value itself. But first, get the core of the Lord of the Rings. What is the ring? What's it about? Remember Gollum? Gollum finds the ring. It's the one ring that's left over, and he's driven mad by the ring. He murders his friend in order to get the ring, and he looks at the ring and he says, "Precious, my precious." What does the ring stand for? The ring stands for anti-value. It is the underminer of all value. Whoever is taken by the ring is taken in by a radical, separate self, egoic narcissism, which drives them to the original murder. It's the Cain and Abel story. The ring undermines the field of value. How do you restore meaning, goodness, and value? It's only through the willingness to destroy the ring, to throw the ring back into the fire from which it came, with that we reject anti-eros, the anti-value of precious, my precious. That ring, that sense of anti-value is the modern success story, which is pseudo-erotic. It's not the fellowship of the ring. Through the fellowship of the ring, everything obviously matters. It's the opposite of the narcissism of Gollum. Shared value creates shared purpose. In the field of value is the fellowship of value, the fellowship of love, the fellowship of eros. We've got to be willing to die for our friends, to be willing to live for our friends, to be radically loyal to our friends. The world is made up of what matters. The world is not made up of matter. Reductive materialism is simply wrong. The world of matter, even before the world of life, the ostensibly inanimate physical world is suffused with matter equals meaning. Tolkien tells a story of value. Value never exists independently of the context of story. Reality is not merely a fact. Reality is a story. Reality is not merely value. Reality is not merely the fact of value or the value of fact. Reality is value embedded in story. That's literally what reality is. And that's what we mean when we say reality is not a fact. Reality is a story.